Two, thank you, everyone. We're going to be starting our session. I know a few folks will be coming in late, but just as we are presenting, we just want to make sure that the instructions are very clear for folks, because we know there can be some conversations on chat, but we're not necessarily looking on chat. So I want to make sure I share the introduction, how we're going to be structuring this. Next slide, please. All right, so event guidelines. So this video will be recorded. You will not appear in the video. This is mute courtesy, so your audio will be muted during this event. If you do have questions, please submit them in the Q&A section. Very, very important. We sometimes get a lot of questions in chat. We never get to them because they're not in the Q&A section. We want to be able to answer all your questions, so please make sure you are doing it in the Q&A section and not the chat, because we're not able to see the chat when we're presenting. Closed captioning is available. To turn it on, click on the live transcription icon at the bottom of your screen and then select your preference. All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to get started. We're going to do a quick introduction. Our agenda items include a general engineering update and where we are with the roadmap for me. Eugene is going to be talking about search and neighborhoods, which I think is super exciting. And we're going to leave it to Annyce and Samantha to talk about the apps update, which is extremely exciting. If we go over in time, don't worry, we'll still be able to answer all your questions. We reserve 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, where we can take any questions that you have, and we'll try to answer them the best we can. Before we move to the next slide, I'm going to introduce myself, then I'll go around the room and we'll introduce each other. So first, my name is Rajib Ahmed. I'm the CTO/CPO. I've joined here in 2020, so I'm very excited. I live the mission of building this community around people to establish connections, and it's something I hold dearly in my heart, and I'm very excited to be able to be here today and talk about our engineering updates with you. I'm going to hand it over to Annyce, who can introduce herself. But Annyce, also let us know what's the last event that you've also been in and how long you've been at Meetup, and anything you'd like to share.
Okay, thanks, Rajib. Hey, I'm Annyce, VP of Engineering. I've been here at Meetup for almost 3 years now. I can't really believe it. The last event I attended was an Agile working group where they were sharing ideas for how you can have more engaging online events. It was super cool. I got some great strategies from the event, and also just met a lot of really friendly Agile professionals. Yeah, so let me go ahead and pass it over to Eugene.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Eujin Measson. I'm the Director of Program Management. I've been with Meetup for just about a year coming up. My last Meetup event was an online meditation event. I joined from obviously my home, but the woman leading the event was in India, so crossing borders virtually. And I learned a lot of breathing techniques, which was really great and relaxing. I'll pass it to Samantha.
Hey everyone, I'm Samantha, either one. I am an engineering manager at Meetup for our mobile apps in particular. I've been at Meetup for almost 9 years now. So I've been here a bit. It's the mission that's kept me here and all my great coworkers. And speaking of, the last event I went to was actually a Meetup event that I scheduled for employees. It was a manager's book club, and that was really fun. And so I have another one scheduled soon, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Samantha, 9 years. Congratulations. I'm very excited to start our main topics, but I'll start with just saying the last event I went to was on Tuesday. I go to a Jersey City soccer group myself, and I'm very excited to do that every Tuesday. I'm not a great player, but I enjoy playing the sports, but just wanted to share with you all as well. All right, let's get to the engineering updates on the next slide. Next one, please. All right, so a quick overview. I think this is our long-term engineering strategy. What I wanted to start with is this presentation is going to be focused very much on the engineering side, not on the product side. So if you have product feature related things, what we're doing, that it will be in our next Meetup Live, but this one will be focused on engineering. From our technology mission of how we're trying to shape the organization and our platform, we're focusing on 3 core areas. We call them the big 3 S's. This includes scalability, speed, and security. So I'll explain a little bit from a very simple definition of what we mean by these. Scalability. We want to ensure our platform scales as demand increases globally. We are seeing that across the globe, we're getting more traffic than ever, especially on native apps and other areas. We want to make sure that we can scale with that demand. The second one is speed. We know that performance across our platform matters. Because of the demands that I just spoke about globally, we want to make sure that everything is fast and performant. And the last one is security, which is really protecting our data, looking at compliance, looking at different things, and being able to make sure that from a security lens that we're always on top of our game and protecting our data. So on the next slide, I'll share a bit more on the details from an engineering roadmap perspective. So I'll speak through each of these in a little bit of detail. So next, if you can click. All right, so the first one is really around speed. Last year we've taken a lot of our focus into moving our platforms into more resilient platforms. Our web platform, which was built on Next.js, which is built on Next.js and React, has migrated a majority of our traffic. And what we're looking to do is continue that, but continue to make sure that our focus there is on being able to make it performant and fast, especially with mobile web. The second thing I would just add to that is our apps also moved over to a new architecture. We're leveraging Kotlin. And one of the things that we're doing is as we're shaping this, we're redoing all of our APIs in GraphQL and away from REST to be able to scale that. So again, modern technologies, architectures have been shifting. We've already migrated a lot and we're going to continue to do that, but make sure that on our backend systems, we can focus on quality. So the next one is really about our footprint and being more available and reliable. And I'll speak a little bit about this in the upcoming slide. And the last one is going to be security, which I'll also speak to next. Next slide. So I'll start off with security. Security really at a high level, there's 5 elements that we're looking at. This is not the only 5. There's many that come onto this, but I'll start with a few of them. So compliance and trust and safety. This is an area that we've advanced our internal tools for what we do with GDPR, data erasure, anything that has to do with legal and compliance rules. We're continuously looking to make improvements here, and we've done a lot in Q1. We've also added more validations and checkpoints to protect our users' data. What do I mean by that? Is when we see suspicious activity, when we're looking at how to secure your account, if you believe your account is being compromised, the steps and workflows that we have, many of them are automated and they are very proactively done. So they protect your data and your accounts prior to anything happening. We have an awesome TNS team that makes sure that we're on top of our game and we're always advancing what we do there. We've also, from a pen test, software hardening and network hardening, we've done scans and we've identified things that we can do to improve. And I'm very excited to share that we're on top of our game fully here. We continuously run tests. We already ran the next round of tests and we're looking at really positive results that protect our data. So this is something we're going to continuously do. We always do. And we tie in our infrastructure so that we make sure that we can always be secure. The last bit of piece that I will add here is accessibility. We've done some preliminary audits in Q1. We're going to be taking steps to make sure that we're accessibility compliant and looking at even advancing that more so that we can make sure all the new platform designs that we are bringing to our apps and our web experiences are all in compliance. So a lot has happened. We're continuing to do this. What I will mention is this is not just a 2022 thing. This is something that we're always looking at and always looking to advance. All right, next slide. The other things I want to mention about scalability and speed. So in Q1, a lot has happened behind the scenes. So we've looked at our databases and we've actually looked at how we can improve processing time. We've looked at the data and looked at how we can separate the data so that we can make our responses faster. We're taking lots of steps for caching and doing that in a smart way. And last but not least is we had lots of unmanaged systems. What that means is we spent a lot of time patching. We spent a lot of time on manual things of these systems versus things that are available in the cloud. And we've taken steps to move away from unmanaged systems and into managed systems. So that's very exciting. In Q2 and beyond, we're going to be looking at taking our data repositories, making them multi-region, smarter purging and caching because we want to make sure that things are coming in real time. And last and not least is making sure that we are reliable and available all the time. Currently, we're still in zones in the United States, and we want to make sure that our apps and sites are always available all the time. And so we're taking measures to be able to do that by advancing our backend. And last year, we advanced a lot of our front end. So I just wanted to share these at a top level because these are important. These are part of the engineering roadmap, and these help us stay very strong and resilient. But I will now give it over to some of the more exciting things to Eugin to talk about search and neighborhoods.
Thank you, Vijay. I'll now be sharing our work on search and neighborhoods. Next slide, please. To start off, why is search a focus for Meetup? Next slide. Matching customers' demand with our supply of groups and events is core to Meetup's value proposition. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Meetup flywheel, but as a refresher, we have on the right side our subscribers creating groups and events. And on the left side, we have our registered members RSVPing to those events. And we see that events drive group retention as well as member retention. Search is a key tool to doing that matching, especially when users arrive on Meetup knowing what they want. Next slide, please. If anyone remembers the old search experience, I was told that oftentimes searchers were not able to find exactly what they were looking for, which led to a bad user experience. This led our data team to rebuild search from scratch by leveraging state-of-the-art technologies and best practices. Here's a visual of how our search works today. Primarily, as events and groups are being created and added to the application database, we update our search results each minute to pull back fresh data. We then leverage a technology called Elasticsearch to power our search engine. As a user putting in a search query, the web or app uses GraphQL to interact with Elasticsearch. And under the hood, we have our proprietary algos, both legacy and new, that help find the best matches. This algorithm is ever evolving, and we are pushing out smaller releases and testing them to give the best results for our searchers. Next slide, please. So here's a look at some interesting and fun stats about how search is utilized on Meetup. We have approximately 450 searches happening per minute, which equates to 17 million searches per month by 1.4 million users. As we improve our algorithm, we are seeing a 21% click-through rate on the search results by our searchers. This means 1 in 5 folks find an event or group to click through to from a search result. And at the bottom right, you'll see our most popular search queries are on hiking, making friendships, book clubs, and much more. Next slide, please. One last slide on some stats. Meetup users across the world are engaging with search daily to find events and groups. When magnifying in by city, the majority of our searches do happen in New York, followed by London, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Next slide, please. With so many searches happening all across the world, we want to make sure our algorithms return the best results. And through our organizers, members providing feedback through our customer support team, plus our product teams providing enhancement requests, we've got a lot to tackle. And here's a sampling of the feedback we've received from issues to enhancements. The good news is that some of the common issues we've heard is our data team's focus today with our neighborhoods project. And for some enhancements that were requested, they are in fast development now or even live and are being tested out. Next slide, please. So the top concern by folks is that our search is difficult to pinpoint events in specific neighborhoods or zip codes. There's actually a very good reason why this happens. Currently, the way our search works is that we draw a radius around just 1 lat long in the city that you requested your search from. And then we score the events and groups for the result returned to you. This means if you currently reside in New York City, let's say all the way uptown, we might be recommending you events in Staten Island or even in New Jersey. We are currently actively focusing on testing a neighborhoods approach, where the events returned back to you are all within the neighborhood identified. We know this is important because as members attend in-person events, the neighborhood allows for precise results, desired zones, and will help folks that are in those larger cities. Next slide, please. Here's our approach to how we are tackling neighborhoods in search. In phase 1, we conducted research to determine where we can test and apply neighborhoods-based search. We ended up with New York City as our first test, and we will definitely expand to further cities. Then in phase 2, we developed and updated our neighborhoods data and proximity matching algorithms into the system. Currently, we're right now at phase 3. We're actively testing an A/B test rollout on the targeted audience segment where we enabled neighborhoods. This means users can type into the search box their specific neighborhood. In phase 4, coming up next, we plan to integrate user-facing filters added into the search experience, and we will apply more cities' neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Here's a sneak peek of what you can expect to see in phase 4. Again, this is illustrative purposes only. It's the ability to select your neighborhood to drill down into location-based results. Thank you, and that's all I have to share today. I'm gonna pass it over to Annyce to talk about apps.
Thanks, Eugin. I was so excited to hear about the latest changes coming to search. And I'm really grateful to get to share with you the latest on apps. So the last time I was here, I shared some of our recent wins, like replatforming 80% of the high traffic screens in the apps. We also had accessibility sweeps performed, and we even sent all of our mobile app engineers to training so that we can continue to deliver on our goal to provide a truly accessible apps experience. We released a series of new widgets that allow you to stay up to date on the latest events, and we fixed a whopping 517 bugs. Next, we also reduced the app startup time by 6%, as well as some additional features for battery savings. But that was then, and this is now. So here's what you can look forward to down the road. For 2022, we're focused on two main areas, quality and growth. As far as quality is concerned, we're going to concentrate on continuing to reduce bugs, prioritizing highly requested features, and delivering a performant experience via caching. In the area of growth, we're excited to put the finishing touches on our new Organizer app so that we can launch it publicly. My colleague Sam will be sharing updates on that momentarily. Next, we want to drive members to your groups and increase engagement within your groups. We'll have more updates on this later in the quarter, just on how we plan to do that. Already this year, we've dedicated 30% of our efforts to fixing bugs. These are things like poor UI in dark mode, reducing unhelpful error messages, poor translations, and more. Additionally, we've upped our caching game by incorporating additional layers. What you see pictured here is a simplification of the changes we've introduced. Essentially, instead of going directly to the database for all the requests, which is slow, we've added a Redis instance that can provide cache responses quickly. The result? We've seen a 22% increase in response times to the native apps. This means that we're faster. But we're not stopping here. We have even more planned to deliver on our goal of providing a high-quality experience. To talk more about what we're doing, I'm going to hand things over to one of our engineering managers, Sam.
Great, thanks, Annyce. So we are always monitoring incoming feature requests from app reviews, user testing, through our support team. And our team has been really hard at work to address some of our highly requested features in the apps, including the ability to manage your account email address, edit your interests. And these are features that were only available through the website, and now they will be available in the apps. Next slide. Cool, so here you can see a preview of what editing your interests will look like. This feature will be live in the upcoming releases of our app, so this is a sneak peek for you all. We already released the ability for you to see what email address is associated with your Meetup account, as seen in the second screenshot here. You'll soon be able to edit your email address as well from the app. And the last example here is rich text support that we worked on in association with our web teams. So now you can add and view rich text like bold, italics, links, bulleted lists in your descriptions and make your event details really stand out. Next slide. Great. So next, I'm excited to tell you more about our newest app, which is currently in beta, built specifically for our Meetup organizers. We call it the Organizer app or Org app, and our hope is that it will make organizing even easier. Next slide. So we've been in beta with the Organizer app for a couple of months now, and we've been getting really great feedback from our organizers. If you haven't started using the Organizer app yet and you would like to, we will be sharing more on how you can download it in a little bit. Next slide. Okay, cool. So some features in the works for the Organizer app include the ability to manage hosts for an event, which is shown in this first screenshot. Actually, this just went live recently. So now you can search for members within your group and appoint them as hosts for the event. And we're currently working on the ability to add a custom venue for you to use for your event location, and that will be out soon. And next one. Great. So another feature that we're really looking forward to getting out there into the app is a brand new refresh take on attendee management. We know that this feature is vital to organizers and it hasn't received a facelift in a while. This new attendee management experience is the result of many hours of user testing with organizers like you and will feature a labeling system that will make it even more clear who has paid for your events with fees and even who will be attending an event for the very first time in your group. So this will be really exciting once it's out. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Samantha. All right, everyone, we hope you've enjoyed the updates. We will now move over to the Q&A section of our event. So I will help with the questions that have come up, and then we'll be answering them. So feel free to add more questions in now, and we will start from the top, and we'll answer these as we go. All right, the first one I'll start with is from Daniel. Annyce, what challenges are you facing with REST as you grow that's prompting a shift in GraphQL?
Okay, thanks for the question, Daniel. I wouldn't say more so challenges versus opportunities. It's about the expertise in our team and the ability that GraphQL gives us for having more engineers contribute to our API, as well as allowing our clients to focus on the exact data that they need rather than pulling in data needlessly. So I would kind of pose it a different angle. It's not so much the challenges, but more so the opportunities that we get with GraphQL.
And second question from Daniel is, how is JavaScript on the server scaling for the company?
Is that
I can
also
start
for
a
me?
little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Annyce,
Okay.
why don't you go first and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues with the JavaScript. We do have another backend that's powered by Java, which is doing just fine. So I would say, as far as challenges, it's not the programming language itself. It's more of our architecture and the fact that Meetup is 20 years old. So there's a lot of things that we want to move quickly, but we know that we're prone to introduce mistakes and issues that need to be worked out. So I'll say like that's more of the challenges that we're facing right now as an engineering organization.
Thank you, Annyce. All right, the next question, I'll take this one, is speed is irrelevant if what you want isn't there. The more you improve, the worse it gets. Ooh, that's a tough one. Why is it lately that you can't see all the events past one day most of the week? This is a great question and a tough one. We love the tough questions. So I agree with you. Speed, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant. Speed is important. At the same time, we know the quality of our search needs to be better. We acknowledge that between events and groups, how we actually match it actually gives great results, but also that people are joining the events, joining the groups. So what we're doing actually right now is the neighborhoods part of it is actually a starting point to see how we establish our ranking. as Eugene mentioned, we're looking at click-through rates to ensure both that the results are meaningful and that we are getting more people into the events. So we're doing not just a test that Eugene mentioned, but we're doing a lot of core algorithm changes to be able to improve our ranking so we can actually solve for this problem. It is a problem that we always want to improve on. It is something we'll continuously do. And we know for a lot of folks in different locations, geography, the search results sometimes may not seem like they're the best, and we're trying to make sure for all geographies, we can get the best results in there. So acknowledging that we're continuously looking to improve there and there are improvements to be made. So Scott, thank you for that question and the brutal truth, but we acknowledge it and we're working on making that better by enhancing our matching capabilities. So while we're on search, there's a question that came for you, Eugene. Specifically, Eugene, can you speak to any improvements needed, requested, planned for search in relation to online events?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We do get a lot of requests based on how we should change online events versus in real life events. There's right now the ability to filter on those when you do a search query on Meetup. And I know I spoke a lot about neighborhoods, which is mostly about in real life, but in general, we are trying to make them both differentiated, and we are also looking at how we can improve relevancy for whether it's online or if it's in person. So we have additional data points that we capture, such as like topics on the events that are created by our organizers. We're looking into applying that. And for online events, it can mean that 25% can be surfaced more readily. So we don't have actually like a definitive list of what's we're going to do for online events right now, but it's definitely something that we need to differentiate.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to what Eugene just said is, we're looking deeply into the categories and how online versus in real life impact that, which will help. So for example, this may not be the best example, but it is a example. If you take hiking, right, in real life hiking events, plays a bigger weightage than if you were talking about a online class for cooking, right? So there's many different things that weigh into our relevancy and matching that we're looking into, and those are happening for online events. Thank you, Eugene. I am going to, this is for Samantha. Is there a different app for organizers and members? So I would say answer that in today and what's in the future.
Sure. So we do, as I mentioned, we have a organizer specific app that is in beta. So it's not, fully out to every single organizer right now, but it is open for you to check out if you would like to. And we're going to share how you can download it after the Q&A. And so that app will feature tools specific to organizers, like being able to create events, manage your events, manage other parts of your group. And then the member app is more member-centric activities is the goal. So it would be more around RSVPing, finding groups, that kind of thing. So that's the vision, is having the two separate apps that you can kind of use in tandem as an organizer and as a member on Meetup. But yeah, we're in the early stages, so it's really exciting to be able to get into the beta now and give us the feedback as we're building out this organizer app.
Thank you, Samantha. Someone also asked, what's the tech in the new organizer app?
Ooh, the tech. We love the tech. So the organizer app, it's really exciting because we're using Kotlin multi-platform mobile, so KMM. So this is a solution that is backed by Kotlin, which is the Android technology, and it allows us to build both apps, both for iOS and Android, with this unified backend. The front end, for those folks who really want to know the stack, the front end on each of those apps, for our Android app, we're using the latest. We're using Jetpack Compose for the UI, and for our iOS app, we're using Swift UI. So the latest and greatest, and the team's really been enjoying getting to be kind of pioneers in the field using this technology.
Thank you, Samantha. All right, I'm going to take one of the questions, which is in relationship to why is there 504 gateway timeouts that we observed? And the answer to that is that we've seen when we see suspicious activity in different areas, we tend, for security reasons, we take those IPs and we restrict it just to make sure that, just to ensure that our systems are protected. When that happened, many users ended up seeing those 504 gateway timeouts until we had to expand and reopen them. We are seeing that that is an area where we are shaping how we're looking at our internal services to better address this. But it was really from a security reason that we had that exposed the 504 timeout that we were exposing. And once we remediated in a deeper level, that came back up. So thank you for that question. It is a good one. The second one I'll take is, can you talk how quickly better security speed, scalability speed move out to Canada and to the rest of the world? Great question. I think this is in two parts. One is when we are doing any of these feature releases, they do release currently, majority of them are released in the East Coast because that's where our zone is with AWS. We are also looking to expand that on the West Coast. When we go to multi-region, these will scale out to all the different regions that we're hosted. But as far as changes that are pushed out, they do happen immediately. And within 24 hours, it's across all those areas. So it's not, we're not pushing them by geography. All right, I will hand over this next question to Annyce. Okay, this is regarding photos. Will you ever improve the phone app so that the pictures turn when a user turns a phone? Also regarding the desktop app, will you ever have the pictures display in a larger format when someone looks at it in the Meetup page? And that question is from Bill.
Thank you, Bill, for the question. Will we ever do it? Yes. As a short answer. I don't know the specifics on when, but I do know that it's a known issue and it's something that we're looking to improve.
Great. There's a question from Masha asking about, are there any SEO features that can be utilized to help organizers target certain audiences? Oh, this is a tough one. Tough just because I'm not an SEO expert, but I will say this. We do expand a lot of SEO features today that exposes us to crawlers in a very easy way so that folks can find the content. If your events are public, if your groups are public, they do get exposed to the crawlers. We do have specific sitemaps that get generated and gets pushed. And at the same time, our URLs are friendly so that we can push them up so that they do get indexed. What I will say is some things we are doing is adding schema tags, making them more obvious for the crawlers to be able to understand what these pages are. But these are some of the SEO things that we are doing in order to help for organic traffic to grow and come back into the events and group pages. All right, this one is a good one. It's a long one, but Annyce, I think this will go to you. The question is, would Meetup consider refining their email notification system for new members? As far as I know, most people are given the option of getting no email notifications or way too many emails. I won't read the rest because it's very long. So how are we looking for multi-notifications that go to people? How are we looking to solve for that?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. And yes, Meetup is not only considering it, we are working on implementing it. We too acknowledge that some members receive more than the ideal amount of emails. So we're working on a project right now. It's called Global Frequency Capping. What does that really mean? We're going to look at a member's behavior on our platform, whether or not they've been opening emails recently, how they're engaging with push notifications, etc., to determine the appropriate frequency to send them these outreach. So yes, we're going beyond considering it. We've actually implemented phase 1 and we're working on phase 2 next.
One more for you, Annyce, which is why the strategy for a separate app for organizers? Good question.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. We did a lot of research on this to try to determine what made the most sense. Having a separate piece attached to the member app, as we're calling it, or a completely separate organizer app. The best way to think about this is maybe think about Uber. There's like an app for drivers, and there's an app for riders, or Airbnb, like these different examples of, or Eventbrite maybe. They have a separate app for organizers as well. The primary advantage is that we can move very quickly by having the app separated. As you heard from Sam, we're using new technology, KMM. This is like a modified cross-platform solution, and we weren't able to do the same thing quickly on the member app. Additionally, if I'm a member only, then why would I be interested in having a bulky app downloaded that has all of this extra functionality specific for an organizer? So by us moving towards a separate organizer app, we can share some of the bulk that will include organizer specific features. And then we did a lot of user researching in the beginning, a lot of user research to determine like which thing made the most sense, and this is where we landed. So I hope that's helpful.
I'll also add, we plan to link the two apps. So if you have both downloaded, it shouldn't be like, oh, I need to go to an event. Let me do that. Like it should be within the app. I want to schedule an event. Okay, it'll open the organizer app for me. So we're gonna make it as seamless as possible to have both apps.
All right. The next question comes from, this is from Rachel, which is when I send out a general email to all my members in the Meetup group, I'm never sure if they receive it. Is there a way to know that they all got the emails? Eugene or Annyce, you want to take that one? This is a good one. I don't.
There is an inbox feature, so you could see that the emails have gone out, but I don't know if you can validate that your members have received it.
Yeah, I think this is, Rachel, a wonderful question. We have systems and monitors in place that ensure that our sends are going at a success rate. However, once a send is actually sent to the email provider from what we use, whether they end up in spam, or whether they end up in a different category that they're looking at, or if they've decided to block it, we are not able to always know that. If the provider sends us the code back that they blocked it, that's different. We can look at it, but that's how we have internal ways to look at how many sends were delivered, and we aim for that to be over 99.9. It's actually the 5 5s, not 3 9s, and with our providers, we make sure that that number stays up. But it is very difficult for us to be able to make sure post from our side when it goes there, like when you're on yahoo.com or you're on google.com and you're looking over there, if a user has taken specific actions that then move those emails into different categories or different areas, we know we did the send. We don't know actually at that point, we can't control where it is being seen. All right, I think we're down to the last few questions. I think we talked about the search. I think we're up to the last question, which is around, hold on, just scanning through, folks. Can you tell us about the present ratio between amount of time between members spend on the website versus the amount of time spent on the app? I think we can try answering this one. And do we know what to expect the ratio for that to be on the organizer level? I can start with this one to say that we know that members are highly engaged with our apps versus our desktop. We're seeing more traffic shift towards that over the last 2 quarters. More than 10% of traffic actually has shifted towards more members being super active across iOS and Android. On top of that, even on web, we've seen strong percentages shift to mobile web versus desktop. So we know that that's the direction that we're going towards. We know that a reason for us to get more organizers into the organizer app is we know today there's nothing on any of the apps. So you have to go on desktop. So if we looked at a ratio, it wouldn't be the right thing to look at because you don't have those tooling capabilities today. So it's not apples to apples. But we do know that in general, whether it's organizers or as members, it's heavily shifting towards leveraging native apps more or mobile web more. Samantha, anything to add there? No? Okay. I think that, let me just make sure, a last question came in. So what Peter just said, are you saying that if I announce a new event in my group, it might not necessarily be true that all members will get an email about it, excluding the ones that have a ticket of a preference not to get such a notification for the group? Peter, great question. What we're saying is we'll send it out. The emails will get sent. It will get pushed to those folks. If they have a preference to not get the email, they will not be getting an email and they will not be getting a notification. However, what I'm saying is if you're an active user of Gmail, for example, if you start marking things as spam, even though we're sending those emails, if you're marketing on spam and once it gets to that inbox, how it gets treated, it's not in our control. It's not that the sends aren't going, it's that we don't have control after the send goes based on which provider it's with and of how that behaves over there. So I just wanted to clarify because I think that was a great question. So folks, I think, we're at time and I think we wanted to get through as majority of the questions as we could. Some of them were overlapping. So if I didn't call you out specifically, it's because they were similar questions as someone else. I think we try to do this every quarter. We're always open to feedback about different types of content you would want to see. So we're always looking for feedback about how we can make this better. We do want to just make a quick mention that our organizer app, we're looking for more organizers to be able to test flight things out, give us recommendations, give us feedback, evaluate things, and more. So they're actually up right now. So if you scan the codes over there with your camera, you'll be able to download the new app and start using it. So we're very excited for that. Annyce, Samantha, can you go back to the previous screen? Let's just leave that for 30 seconds for folks. Again, I think I want to thank you all, and especially Annyce and Samantha. I think great job on the organizer app. I think we're very excited for what's going to come next. But everyone, all organizers, if you are an organizer, please do download these apps. It's wonderful. The experience is super fast. It's wonderful and makes creating events so much more easier. So do download that. Next slide. All right, just wanted to mention that our Keep Connected podcast by our CEO, David Siegel. If you're not tuned into that, please do. You can subscribe at meetuppodcast.com, or you can scan this to also be able to follow that there. All right, I wanted to say thank you, everyone. And it is a pleasure. And in the next 3 months, we'll see you again with more updates from the engineering side. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.